Forests. There is no better environment than a labyrinth of trees to evoke a sense of mystery and adventure in video games. Every good adventurer has to sooner or later traverse thick woodlands and jungles in order to progress their epic odysseys. Regardless if these forests are made up of oak, pine or maple trees, each shine intrigue to the player and bring beauty to the world. Forests comes in various shapes and sizes throughout gaming history, from the lost woods of the very first Legend of Zelda for the NES up to mistwoods found in Elden Ring, at times depicted in a realism that pairs reality, like observed in Kingdom Come Deliverance, and at times depicted in more creative ways, such as the case in the netherworlds of Yoshi's Woolly World and Kirby's Epic Yarn, where trees are made of woolen stitches. The care for detail that can be found in every element within a forest, within every branch, within every leaf, is matched by no other biome. While the previously discussed deserts, grasslands and snowlands focus on the vastness of scale, their ensemble, forests often focus on the detail, on the individual part of life. And it is life herself to be the core of every enchanted forest. The green flora is not lifeless sand, but the most pure expression of life we can observe. The force of nature is intricate, beyond our understanding. This is the reason why in the Star Wars universe it is planets like Dagobah to be strong with the force. Its purity is unshaved, its life infinite. But not all life lives for life's sake. In jungles and savannas, the abundance of life is also synonymous with the abundance of hunting and being hunted. Surviving in the properly named game, the forest is no small feat, since the wilderness is not benevolent to foreigners that do not know the rules of the game. No one is truly safe within the depths of woodlands, yet this density is sanctuary to all sorts of creatures, sentient and otherwise. No wonder why so many tribes prosper specifically thanks to the dangers a forest has, why so many adventurers dare to explore uncharted forests that somehow end up having the most valuable treasures. In this fourth entry of environment exploration in video games, a long-awaited new chapter in this series, we will study and admire woodlands in video games, from woods to forests to jungles. The variations are many, the trees themselves even more, but the role they play within the gaming world remains grandiose and deserves to be cherished and appreciated. Roll the intro. Wood is perhaps the most useful material for mankind's development, making woodlands essential for the evolution of all sorts of civilizations. From your strategy games like Age of Empires 2 to your sandbox survivals like Minecraft, the need of wood is constant, it being the most basic resource after food and water. Wood is needed to build homes for your ever so growing population in the first game, and wood is key to make your first crafting table in the latter, both unskippable in order to progress in the game. The same applies to other titles, such as Kingdom and Castles and Terraria. It is inevitable to settle your ever-expanding city or your first base near or within a forest, a place that offers all the wood in the world you might need. The symbiosis human populations have with woodlands has been intrinsic from the very beginning of times, and thus games like these, that have the player start from scratch, have to direct them towards this biome in order to thrive. Apart from giving resources, as stated earlier, forests may give a safe haven to the chaos of the outside world. No wonder that in a dysfunctional world of Nier Automata, the two closest things that we have to functional societies are both hidden within the depths of the world's biggest jungle, those being Pascal's village and the kingdom. Both locations are home to robots disconnected from the network that seek their own unique way to mimic what we call a community. In the former case, we can observe how friendly robots found refuge above their high trees, symbolizing a distancing from the ground floor inferno seen across the world. The kingdom instead calls home the Grand Castle, using the dense forest as a way to geographically isolate and defend themselves from outsiders, from intruders. In fact, the theme of isolation is often characterized within undiscovered woodlands. While sailing the Seven Seas in Wind Waker, the player is bound to land over various unmapped islands, exploring deep jungles hiding treasure. Do not be fooled, however, you are not the sole adventurer to share this idea. Jungles in the Americas are home to ancient civilizations that may or may not hide the biggest gold reserve mankind has ever stocked. From DuckTales to Sonic Adventures, the player can be sure to find hidden wonders if they so decide to go where no person has gone before. You might find gems, you might find artifacts, but you will definitely discover something new, at least if you are faster than the rest. Perhaps a trusted vehicle may help you traverse the deep jungles of Mexico, as experienced in Forza Horizon 5. Driving off-road takes experience and expertise, to lose oneself between bushes and push out the trees, but the archaeological gems found across the land are more than a splendid reward. It is no coincidence that losing yourself in woodlands is quite a common occurrence in the digital realm. In the Legend of Zelda franchise, the Lost Woods are an intriguing location to explore, since perpetual fog will hardly allow you to find your way. From Link's Awakening to Tears of the Kingdom, the player has to find ingenious ways to traverse the sun-deprived forest, a task that requires something more than a naive attempt of running forward and never looking back. But be warned and beware, because as introduced, jungles are the last place you wish to end up in the wrong conditions, say after an unplanned rough landing. In Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the Amazon may appear to be colorful and filled with life, but where there are preys, there are predators. Peruvian jaguars are the apex predators, and believe me when I say that your last desire is to face one in combat. Ruthlessness is your mantra, and lost adventurers like yourself, their dinner. And don't you think that wielding a lightsaber will make your journey a walk in the park? Kashyyyk is home to yes, friendly Wookiees ready to fight on your side, like they do in Star Wars Republic Commandos, but this wild land is also home to all sorts of alien creatures that are, let us say, less welcoming. Cal from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order has to face all sorts of biological demons while visiting the Green Planet. Even if it's not a natural menace hunting you down, a forest may still be infested by less than friendly foes. In the indie title Inside, the player starts the game by controlling a faceless boy escaping from a faceless force in a dark forest. There is no mercy to spare. The sole way to survive is to keep on running. But do not be afraid. Woods are an even playing field. The same hidden advantages that help your hunters also help you to hunt. In the Total War saga, there is no better place to hide your army. In Advanced Wars, a single hidden tile of woodland is enough to hide all sorts of units, all ready to jump and attack your enemies from behind. And even if in some strategy games, such as in Civilization, a forest does not completely hide your army, do not underestimate the defense boost a jungle can have. But what if you have no army and instead you face one while playing as a single fighter? The deep jungles may still be your greatest ally. All you need to start a guerrilla warfare. In Far Cry 3 and 6, the deep forest of the Rook Islands and the jungles of Yara come quite in handy to attack enemy convoys at will, taking down enemy camps one by one. There is nothing more chaotic and challenging than to fight in deep primitive jungles with modern equipment. In Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, as the name suggests, players face off in the deep tropical jungles of Southeast Asia, a similar experience to the one had in Easy Red 2 when landing on the beaches of Kuala Jain. Donkey Kong also faces constant intruders in what he calls home, forces he must face off in all sorts of different jungles across different levels. If anything, his dexterity combined with the environment come together to play a well-coordinated dance, a tango, a flow of movement made rich by the surrounding branches and vines. Luigi in New Super Luigi U also uses the forest in World 5 to enhance his movements, but DK does it best. It is, after all, his home turf. He's a bit more in luck when equipped with his Polargast 5000 in Luigi's Mansion 3, but visibility amongst the vines is still scarce. Tall trees provide a natural launching pad, slingshots from the ground to the sky. Rico Rodriguez from the Just Cause franchise knows a thing or two on how to make the best uses of his grappling hook in combination with all these organic skyscrapers. In Crysis, the protagonist is a bit less elastic, but still capable of camouflaging among the palm trees. The tarantella that is danced between the abundance of flora and the capabilities of every playable character is frenetic, vivid, symbiotic, to the point that every forest present in gaming improves the gaming experience like nothing else, like nothing more. Perhaps we focused too much on the gameplay and forgot the true reason we as humans enjoy hikes and camping, to be connected to life herself and the myriads of shades of colors she comes dressed in. Do not underestimate the variety this biome has to offer. Forests tend to be green, yes, but not all trees cast the same shade, and some even detour from the imagined norm. In Mario Kart Wii, the famous Maple Treeway racetrack changes the usual chromacity by depicting an autumnal orange forest full of aging amber leaves and copper-colored branches. The same paintbrush was used when drawing the small indie game Nights in the Woods, where the palette of colors chosen is different from the usual photosynthetic green, as it is different yet again from how the dark woods are drawn in Brothers, A Tales of Two Sons. In Ring Fit Adventure, the aesthetic of the woodlands is more polygonal, more raw to its form, and yet, for this very same reason, more unique. In Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, the developers went with a strong, vivid, cartoonish style, with strong colors reflecting on both screens of the console. Such variety can also be found in the various Animal Crossing games, where the blooming spring and the shining summer leave space to the charming sunset of autumn and winter's night. There is poetry in the changing of season, there are myths and tales that derive from this natural process, and no biome in video games make this change as striking as forests. And speaking of seasons, winter is of course the most challenging one, where the forest life resources are limited, and survival is less than guaranteed. I will not explore this tangent since such description was already reserved for the Snowlands in video games video, but I will only hint at the fact that even the most beautiful of forests can cast a different spell when exploring during daylight, like in Yakuza 5, or during long winter nights, like observed in the first tree. Going back to warmer weathers, trees evoke a sense of reassured curiosity, a child's dream of finding magic among the bushes and the alders. In Pikuniku, the abstract is made into the absurdity while lost in the woods. There is a sense of familiarity and yet of discovery. The same could be said when first entering the various forests scattered around Pokemon regions, filled with incredible creatures not found elsewhere, living in the most biodiverse land of them all. The Black Forest of Lemuria found in Child of Light, where the trees of the afterlife are painted in all sorts of cute colors, contrasts with the hopeful light emitted by the protagonist herself. While flying across the thin air, Aurora gets lost in the world filled with wild creatures and charming characters, hidden behind layers upon layers of dark wood. But there's not always harmony between mankind and nature. Sonic Colors makes this conflict explicit, the evil desire to industrialize the green lung of Earth. There are machines with sharp blades, sharp metallic teeth, ready to cut down hectares to feed the black smoke. A similar observation can be made to Super Mario Odyssey's Wooden Kingdom, where oxidized copper machinery arises from the dark green bushes, yet the vibe such a world evokes is one of prevalence of nature. From the hanging vines to the flower bridges, it is nature that prevailed over her kingdom, one that will with time grow back to its original state. Kirby in the Forgotten Land showcases what nature is capable of, how she can restore herself in a destroyed world where human life is absent, but where the photosynthetic one is prolific. Nature is the keyword of this video. Woodlands, forests and jungles are all manifestations of life in its purest form. There is a reason why there are enchanted forests, why there is magic across the woods, why we have a fairy tale image of what is hidden behind leaves. This biome evokes a sense of mystery linked strongly with the wonders of nature. In Firewatch, the protagonist of the adventure seeks refuge from his mind and himself in the orange-painted canvas that is the wild, hoping to find inner peace. In Monster Hunter World, the player has to become one with the leafy world to truly master their craft and overcome every challenge. In Project Cars, it is the famous Northlife, nicknamed the Green Hell, to give the player one of the most challenging races of them all. Nature prevails in the mind and body of every adventurer passing by, but it is up to each and every game to decide whether you depict woodlands as an obstacle to overcome, a paradise where to rest, and of course, everything in between. In this love letter, I can only bring so many examples, but one thing is for certain, woodlands, forests and jungles are always a welcome addition to our gaming journeys. From the pixelated looks observed in Metal Slug 3 to the complex composure present in Green Hell, forests in games with their ancient trees are here to stay forever. Between woods, forests and jungles, it is easy to spot a pixelated green valley in whatever game you boot up. In this video, as per usual, I have mentioned various examples for games I've played, but the ones that are the most special are the ones you have explored in your own personal journey. From mysteries hidden behind the densely flora and fauna to wonderful sceneries rich in color and life, forests are always a welcome biome to have in gaming. They might be given for granted, but sometimes the beauty of a world is not hidden behind a sunset, but in nature, hidden in plain sight. It is truly an honor to have explored woodlands in detail, in as many games as possible, in as many dimensions as possible, in as many adventures as possible, each and every one to the very last leaf. If you made it this far, I wanted to thank you 1-too-many-forest times for watching today's video. It's been a while since I've last made one of these. They take a bit more than usual, but I'm always very proud of the end result. Biomes and environments in games are many, and to discover them in various games is extraordinary. What biome do you believe needs more attention? Let me know for an upcoming 5th video. I wish you all a wonderful day. And until next time, arrivederci.